Okay, there. I
We
heard him.
are what? Can
All right,
anybody
Gordy,
hear me?
You can't talk
Malcolm,
to your
can you hear
kids.
me? I can
I'm,
hear.
I'm gonna
Yes,
have to.
Gordon, we can hear you fine.
We hear you,
Are you
Gordon.
sure?
Yeah, we're sure. All right. Hi,
Okay.
Ashley. Welcome to the call. She's come.
I can see
Everybody.
Malcolm. I can't hear him. So
Hang on. I'm gonna mute. I'm
Okay,
muting
so I'm
Gordon.
hearing them, they can
On
hear
the boss.
you, but we can't hear them.
All
So
right.
maybe we just
There we go. I'm gonna unmute you when we get to it. All right. Here we go. People still coming in. Dr. Armando. Hey, first up, Gordon made this poster. I didn't make the poster. Gordon went and got the picture of me on the bike. I built that bike. I like to do things myself, right? See down the bottom? Gordon didn't see that. Created by Gordon Morton, the CEO. So we're going to get going. This is not a call. It's not an opportunity call. It's actually giant food. You said to me you were astonished, Gordon. That was it. Astonished. That's how the word you said when we're on a conversation. Giant food. So, look, to open this up, the number one longevity plant in this planet, trees that are 1,000 years old. Guess what? That tree had to go through adversity to keep living 1,000+ years. You agree with me? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to mute you all again. Sorry, you folks. You can't keep unmuting yourself. Longevity plant on the planet. And what? The number one anti-aging food in the world. For a tree 1,000+ years old to keep producing fruit, that tree had to go through one heck of a lot of adversities and overcome it. I'm going to stop sharing right here now. I'm going to put this up. There he is. I'm going to talk to you for a minute. This is going to be a little bit of a different call. I got asked to do something. I'm a little uncomfortable. Actually, I'm nervous. I was about to tell my wife I'm nervous, but I guess it's time.
it's
Look,
it's
folks,
good. It's good for you, Malcolm. Nobody should get comfortable.
look,
I
that word he's got right there below success, hustle. That's what this is going to be about.
it's
Success.
we
Yeah.
had a technical. We are trying the new studio. You can see,
Check
and
it out.
we had the AV sees up, and so sorry about the being a little late. But hey, brother, no, I really appreciate you. Thanks for helping me set this up. Folks, it is
It
a
was
little
your
different.
idea.
It was our idea, brother.
Okay.
We were chatting on. By the way, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure that you're all joined. Some of you masochists are doing this for the second time today. We're logging on together, and Malcolm, you're the best. I appreciate you, you folks. Great sales leader like Malcolm is more about is it's not all about closing sales. That's not him. It's about developing people and turning visions into results. And I have a compliment that I reserve for Malcolm, and that is he gets out of bed every day with the energy of a great white shark. And there's a lot to it because a lot of times he's in the water. Pretty shortly after that, he's a world-class surfer. And I learned putting together this PowerPoint today, Malcolm, that you are also it's, I don't know if it's a Harley. There's a photograph that I've noticed appeared online, and I didn't have it. And it's you on a Harley or an Indian motorcycle or something like that, correct?
It's first 3 months of the year for 1996 Harley Fat Boy Softail. I built it from scratch. I had the frame and I built the whole thing. Yeah. And big engine in it,
Fabulous.
SS 126 cubic inch. That thing, yeah, very nice bike. I had a lot of bikes, but that was my favorite. Old school, old Metzler white wall tires. Had to go to Germany to find them. A lot. Yes, I like making and building things. I like building companies.
As do I. As do I. Malcolm and I were talking on Saturday night, and I said to him, he's more he and I are more alike than we are different. And I think I asked Ashley and a few others to join us so this doesn't get too testosterone-y, Malcolm, because we'll end up talking about motorbikes and hockey if we're not careful. But again, what I was getting to, Malcolm, is we were talking on Saturday night, and there was a discussion about two things spurred this call. One was Ray Heron told me last week, he said, Gordon, my boy, I got one of them Amway veterans looking at us. And I said, oh, and he told me, and they've been in for a long time in the industry. And that told me something. I was like, we have to be we have to make sure we've got our leadership principles in alignment. And also I realized also that one of the things that we've been doing is we've been building a lot of the weekly webinars, but we haven't been having leadership calls. And that is something that the little ticker in my head was like, tick, tick, tick. We have a certain amount of time. We got people progressing through the comp plan. I actually underestimated Ray's level on the call today earlier, and I called him 100K. He's actually 200K. So Malcolm and I were talking on Saturday night, and I said, we gotta put material out there for leaders as well. And I'm gonna try to share my screen. We'll see if that goes well. Everything that was all set up for this call, the A and the V, disconnected right before we went live. I'm going to tell you something. Malcolm, you said that made you made a little nervous. Right now, calm. My entire PowerPoint slide thing vanished just minutes before the call, 20 minutes about before. And then I was just told that the entire AV setup that we set here glitched. So I just went live. I'm doing this with notes the old school way. As if, remember some of back in the day when we talked to people with a microphone attached to speakers, and I think we just talk right down to earth in a language everybody understands. And we were talking, and I said, Malcolm, one of the things that we're doing is we Giant Food for Giants. I read a million years ago, I read a book, and it was called Feeding the Giant, and it talked about giant food for giants and baby food for babies. And you cannot bring people into any business discussion with complexity about your brand. You start with the basics, which we've been doing, but you have to build from there on that, and you have to build leadership principles. And so, Malcolm, can I just ask you, brother? I'm leading the witness. I know a little bit about this. If you were to guess how many different, fleet vehicles in Canada, brother, securities, supplements, how many businesses do you think you've started and run in your life? Guesstimate.
Let me see. Built a big building company in Australia, and then I had a dealership and chain of restaurants and a big brokerage house in North America. And then I started importing business. I think you owned one of those trucks back in the day. And
I did. I owned one of your Fords. Yeah.
Built condos and resorts all around the world. But folks, all those things he's telling me about, I always had one core business. In the day, it was the car business. And then when January 92, second Tuesday of January 92 was the first time I started network marketing. And that became a core business. And I took that core income and I always built not other network marketing businesses, other businesses. I invested my money. It's so often that leaders in this profession of ours end up broke or in trouble. Speaking of the devil right here, I'll be honest with you, but I always built other businesses. So I'd take money I'd earn and I'd build condominiums on islands around the world. Why do I do so many different things? Because I can. It's not because I know how to do it. I just gonna have a go. I say, I'm gonna do that. I'm going to have a go.
Yeah. And this is funny. You were talking about it. You were saying, I just can't believe that this, whatever the business, that one failed. And I was like, rebuilding isn't failure. It's reality in business. And not everything I've touched in business has turned to gold. That's for sure. Right. But there's been a few doozies, just like Malcolm. And one of the things Malcolm, you mentioned, and I did not know this, that you were in restaurant at one point. And this came up last night. So Malcolm, you've met Larnie, and some of you have. She's the office manager, my wonderful executive assistant, and she's also Janelle's sister. And like Malcolm's wife, she's from the Philippines. Here's the other thing that some people don't know is that she at one point was the owner of, or a co-owner of, 2 restaurants. She's currently partial owner of a restaurant here in Salt Lake, Korean food. And yesterday I said something like, "Oh my gosh, you're on top of it. You're doing everything." And she said, "I come from the restaurant industry. I stack." And you come in from a restaurant, you understand there's something called stacking. And you do this in the restaurant industry. You can't just think of one thing. You have to think, I have appetizers on table 1. I have main courses on table 5. I got orders up for table 7 in the kitchen, hot right now. And Malcolm, you know this a little bit about restaurant. If you've ever worked in restaurant, you have zero patience for a poorly run restaurant. One that doesn't train their staff. There's no training. There's no development of the staff. There's rules. Every industry has rules. They're like the cardinal rules you don't break. And here's I'm going to riff. Hi, Malcolm, you had a little stress? Pour yourself a Coke, brother. I'll take over for a little bit. I'll call you, and I call Ashley a little bit. I might even call Hernan. I can see Hernan's face. People are like, oh man, I got to turn off my camera. They're going to call on me. I'll tell you this.
I have a good point about your restaurant.
Yeah.
The restaurant, they were very successful. One thing I learned, when I had my building business, I was the boss. But if I wanted you to lay 1,000 bricks a day as a bricklayer, I picked up the trowel and got on the line and laid 1,000 bricks a day for 3 days, even though I owned the company. If I'm going to ask you to do it, you're going to do it. So in the restaurant business, it's very important for you folks to know about our owners, Joe and Gordon and Curtis, and that if I employed Gordon as a manager, every single person, other than the head chef, because they're prima donnas, you had to do a 2-week stint of every position in that restaurant. You had to be a busboy. You had to be then the waiter. You had to work on the sous chef line. You had to work in the kitchen on the meat line. You had to work with the preparation. You had to work with the matador and the manager up front. You had to work with the guy behind the bar because we had a big nightclub, Rattlesnake Saloon. You had to do each one of those whatever you call it, occupations in the restaurant, because then you knew when you're upset out at the table as a waitress and there's food not quite ready, you knew what it was like when you've got 452 seats, bellies at tables, and there's all that food. You knew it all. So why do I bring that up with Oliabo? Joe and Gordon started with their dad running country manager of a company when they were little teensy bitsy boys, and they've done it all from that to delivering, to then being part of it, to then being distributors, to then being in management with other companies, to then owning their own companies, and at the same time, outside of network marketing, running successful other companies on their own. So they've been in the trenches with us. Other than in my past, most owners I was with, they didn't have a clue. They'd never done it.
I have no patience for that too, Malcolm. I appreciate it. And this is the thing that if you, thank you. It was very kind of you. I was in the field for many years of my life. I paid my mortgages. I fed my family with money I made from my distributorship. And I learned a few cardinal rules that you don't break. And by the way, we're going to talk about 5 of them tonight. 5, not 500, not 50, 5. And by the way, don't call them rules. No, but we don't like rules. We're not fond of rules, right? We like to break them. Just call them, I don't know, principles.
5 paths that you should walk through.
Sure, whatever we call it. Yes, suggestions. Okay, I think the 10 Commandments probably would have got more traction if you just 10 suggestions, right? It was wording. I don't know. Translation is subject to opinion anyway. But I was going to say, in the restaurant, they're like, here's a couple of rules. In the restaurant, I was always taught, and by the way, once you learn it, and you got it, Malcolm's right. I never worked a restaurant before I bust. They wouldn't let me wait tables until I put in time bussing, right? You never walked in or out of the kitchen empty-handed. Like a good waiter walks out with hot plates, and he's panning and scanning, and he's saying, I got to clear the appetizers on table 2 while I'm bringing food to table, 6. You're constantly stacking. And back in the day, we had smokers in the restaurant. I'm old, look at my beard. And you had to clear ashtrays. Ashtrays fill up. The second you go out there, you pay attention to who's smoking, because you're going to have to clear that ashtray very shortly. Top up wine glasses on 5. I got to make sure that I check on table 6 because they're on main courses. Ask them if everything's good to their expectation. And you go through this, and it's a checklist. And a well-run restaurant means that somebody's taking the time to train, and the staff knows the rules. And there's rules. They're rules, suggestions. They're actually in restaurants, they're rules. So my grandfather never spoke a lick of English, and when he came to immigrate to Canada, but he knew food. So he was valet in Italy. when my Nono would sit down at any table, he would go like this. He used to like play, go, no, yeah, grazie. And he would take and he would shift the fork so it pointed the knife. If it wasn't pointing at the wine glass, he pointed the knife at the wine glass. He put the spoon outside the forks had to sit here and he would adjust it and then he could proceed. That was the way he was. He adjusted it. If you sit down and you realize that the fork is on the wrong side in a fine dining restaurant, you're like, something is going to be bad. It ain't going to be right because somebody doesn't know the rules. By the way, you don't have to know. You don't have to know as a customer, okay? The staff should know. It's kind of the code speak that we know what we're doing is when a table is set properly. If your waiter, if your waiter brings your dessert trays out, your desserts out, and you still got main courses on your table that haven't been cleared, that dude, I always tip, by the way, I waited tables, but he broke the rules and nobody trained him because you'd never do that. You never want to be smelling pasta carbonara and having like a tiramisu next to it. It just, madai. So in our industry, we have principles and they're leadership principles. And they're in our industry, like any industry, there are A-tier companies, there are B-tier companies, there are C-tier companies. We've wallowed in the sea every once in a while. Oh my gosh, this is, it's ghetto. Everything looks crappy. I'm not saying it's not chaotic in a startup, but there's the A companies, the ones that make it past 10 years, they make it past 15, they make it to 20. Things look good. Their trips are great. Their AV works at their conventions. The executives don't look like they just fell off a turnip truck, right? There are rules that they do. Pin, logo, it's the whole thing, right? And then, and as I've said out of the gates, I want this to be an A-tier company so that everybody on the line here, I'm not saying a startup isn't have its share of chaos, like the fritzing out of the AV and the new studio. By the way, it does look pretty cool in here, you guys. You should see it. It is pretty smooth. We'll have it up by next week. But 5 core rules. And if you want to take notes, by all means, go ahead. But we'll go through these over time. So if you're cool, Malcolm, with your permission, my friend, can I just riff for a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. This is the part of the program, folks, where Malcolm might be tempted to mute me because sometimes things come out of my mouth. And
let me off the hook. Ray told me I had to tell my story of all the swimming upstream, and
I'm by the way, hold that. It'll be more powerful by the end, Malcolm. Okay.
So, hey, look, folks, he made a suggestion. Look at this. This is Oliabo book, you know.
These are my notes from Malcolm the other night, by the way. So
who got a black box? So not a suggestion. How about you make this one a commandment? Commandment number 1. Hey, write this down. These five suggestions, these 5 paths that he's about to give you, they'll set you on the road to success.
And thank you, Malcolm. And folks, if this is valuable, you send your suggestions. I don't need to say that. I know you will anyway. If this sucks, let me know. I have a tough skin, guys. And you're just like, I don't like the way you wore a baseball hat with your shirt. I'm like, well, I was supposed to go home, but I didn't have a chance. I changed my office. But I see these beautiful faces out here, and I just got to send some shout outs. Hernan and Tanya. Oh my gosh. Tanya, Australia, Tanya? Is that who I see there? Oh my goodness. Hey, I can only see 1 row and I don't know how to fix it because I'm bad with technology. That's okay. You don't have to be good at everything. By the way, here's one. This isn't one of the 5, but I'm going to point this out. If you're like, I can't do this business because I don't have a car, sponsor your opposite. This isn't one of the 5 I'm going to drop. It's just a piece of advice. The people around me, that gentleman right over there, Trello, has ridiculous, mad skills that I do not have. We are completely opposite. And Ashley, you're going to hear from her in a second. She's almost entirely opposite of me. Sponsor your opposite. Recruit your opposite. If you're like, I got to build a business that looks all like, I don't know, Malcolm. Like Malcolm's like, I got to find surfers that live on an island in the Philippines no. You want to find your opposite. Sponsor your opposite. I can't build this business because I don't have a car. Sponsor someone with a car. I can't build this business because I'm bad with technology. Sponsor someone with technology skills, somebody that's internet savvy. I can't build this business because I'm crap on social media. You know the rest. Recruit somebody that's good on social media. You can't swing a dead cat without finding somebody. Ashley's actually pretty damn good at it. Dang good at it. I don't know how many followers she's got, but a lot. a lot. So I'm really not that proficient at it, and I shouldn't tell myself that. But anyway, sponsor your upset. Okay, number one, cardinal rule. This is the rule. We all prick our fingers and make a blood oath tonight because I saw some of this happening, and I'm like, we can't have that. There are two very big groups that I'm talking to right now, and I'm not that we're under confidentiality. And I want to make sure we got all our ground rules right. So here's number one. This is a rule. We all prick our fingers, make a blood oath. Good news upline. Good news downline, bad news upline. Okay. That's the rule. When you're feeling up, you call your downline. And when you're feeling down, you call your upline. That's the cardinal rule. You cannot send bad news into your organization. I didn't make the rules. They were made bazillion years ago. I'll tell you what. Sending bad news into your organization is like throwing up on your best friend. It feels good for a second, but you just made a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. Hernan, Hernan, you're the best, brother. I freaking love you. And you and I have seen what happened in a previous life when somebody had the habit of throwing up on their downline. Not you. People that we know. And there's a little nervous laugh, right? Because we've all seen it. Somebody's like, you call the person that brought you in. By the way, everybody on the line here is the expert to anybody they bring in, because even if you brought them in 1 minute after you signed up, Hernan, I think you signed up like 1 minute after Ray when we went live. Okay. But Ray is instantly just 1 minute smarter than you are because he's had 1 minute more experience. So the person, you always edify the upline, but if you got complaints and problems, you send them to your upline. They're actually fiscally motivated to listen to you, okay? And they can give you good help with it. Never bad news downline. So that's the big one right there. And I just put it out there. If you're ever new to this industry, yeah, man. Sure.
Like upline is there to help you, promote you, build you up, get you the success you want. They want a good upline wants you to succeed. Yes, there's money in it, but that money has nothing to do with the feeling that a person gets by creating success and watching a person step into it, grow it, and own it. That's the key. That's why all these leaders on this call, that's why they do. I'm admitting people, and that's why they do what they do. So, yes, bad news goes
good
up.
News goes
down.
Good news down. Bad news, if you have it, up. Okay.
Here's the amendment. Even though you go upline with the bad news, you know what you should do? Occasionally, at least, go and praise your upline. Right? Because the uplines never get told they're doing a good job.
Good Lord, it's true. Ray's got to put up with you, Malcolm. And by the way, you're absolutely right. Hey, you got to send good news upline every once in a while. They'll stop answering their phone. They're not a garbage can with a hairy lid. Despite how much facial hair Hernan has, he is not a garbage can with a hairy lid. So if he's your upline, occasionally send him some good news, okay?
That includes the owners and the executives in the company, because usually when I come to them, I'm like Mike Tyson coming out of the corner on the first round.
It's a little true. And you guys, I'll give you a piece of advice. I'm like anyone else. I have my ups and downs. By the way, this is me. Yay! My highs are high, my lows are low. It's always been me. It's my personality. It's the same with Malcolm. And it's very different than Hernan. This is Hernan. Yay. Oh, yay. Oh, you want all kinds of personalities in your organization. So that's number one. Don't send down bad news into your organization, okay? Give critique upline, good news downline. I don't answer my phone, folks. If I'm in a bad mood, I know better than to answer my phone, because if Malcolm calls me and he's having a particularly bad moment and I answer the phone in a crappy mood, I just made a mess, because I'll be like, you think you got problems, Chief? My freaking kid just broke the HOA pickleball court. Happened. And you don't do that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to plug into that. Okay, that was number one. Number two, I have notes. Look at these are my janky notes. This is what happens when your PowerPoint kicks out on you. So hear both sides of a discussion. folks, we're all leaders on this call. We should be. And if you're brand new and you signed up yesterday, this call is going to sunburn you and you're going to be mad at Malcolm for promoting it. And for me, it should be leaders. So we're going to talk leader talk. I've seen this happen more than once now. And I get this. Gordon, so-and-so is doing this. That you got to talk to them because they did this cross line to somebody. I was like, did you talk to the other side of this equation? Well, no, but this person wouldn't lie to me. I'm like, they wouldn't, but they might hold back the whole story. If you got 2 1Ks on your front line and they're fighting against each other, and one of them's like, you need to get involved and you got to tell them what to do, you better pick up the phone and call the other one because you got to hear both sides of the story. And I have a weird viewpoint here because I got robots around me that track everybody's stuff. You know, like when I say track your stuff, not like the government or whatever. It's just like I see numbers, right? So-and-so did this. I'm like, that's not what the numbers suggest. So-and-so isn't recruiting. Really? Because I got 5 in the last month. Oh, well, is that true? Yeah. If you've got a problem in your organization, you're all leaders. You're going to have some politics in your organization. Okay. You are. Malcolm, I know that you don't have any politics, any business that you've ever run, but for everyone else, you might just have some politics in your organization, right? So if you've had a problem between 2 of the folks in your organization, make sure you hear both sides of the story. It seems self-explanatory, and yet sometimes you just need somebody else to say it. I had an amazing mentor, and I had a picture I was going to show you. I'll show you on the next call. There's a picture of me and Ray Heron and a guy named Ken Pontius, the guy that mentored me it's in Ray. The photo was taken Ritz-Carlton in Maui. And it's this great we're all wearing aloha shirts, got suntans. And the guy that mentored me was these remarkable networker, unbelievable. And he was so patient with me. And he taught me a few things. And I always knew if I was out of compliance, he'd take me, Gordon. He'd go, oh, my aching back. That's what he would start with. He never really cussed. He would say, oh, my aching back, Gordon, you can't do that. And he would correct it. So one of the things is if I was like, Ken, we got problems in the leg and in Quebec, in our Montreal group, and the so-and-so is fighting with so-and-so, and we got to make sure we get in the middle, and this person has to stop doing what they're doing. He's like, have you heard the other side? Well, no, they don't speak English. They're French Canadian. He's like, well, get the translator. We got to hear both sides. It's work. So anyway, there's number 2. Hear both sides of any problem in your dispute. In your organization. Number 3, and this is big, because if you've been in this for 3 months and you're dedicated to building the business and you can't pronounce oleocanthal, I need to be telling you, you got to work on that. And I hear people say, well, you know what? I'm not really good with big words. Well, learn them, because if you're talking to people about our products and you haven't taken the time after 3 months to be able to pronounce verbascicide or hyphenolic. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Then you're telling somebody that you can't be bothered after 90 days for the brand that you're representing to know some words that the rest of the world hasn't learned yet. I gave a speech in Russia about Peter the Great, and Peter the Great changed Russia years and years and years and years and years ago by uttering the phrase "Zelanya Ravno Shmirti," which loosely translated means delay is death. Today is the day we change Russia. We are going to build a city that is it will be famous in all of the globe. And the way we're doing it is with a mantra. Zelanya Ravno Shmirti. Excuse my pronunciation. I don't speak Russian. Besides spasiba and that, I cannot speak any Russian. I learned that sentence because I was giving a very big speech at a convention in Moscow. And the advice was given to me, can you learn that phrase? Because it's a really big part of Russian history. And so I learned it. Learn words. Oleocanthal is not an easy word. There's bright people on the line. So practice again, practice again. I can do a call like this. I'm not nothing special, folks. I'm your hope. I'm your hope. I'm from nowhere, Canada. But my dad would say, you're no better than anyone else, but you're certainly no worse. And that's the way I look at it. I'm no better than anybody on this line. I honestly think that. I get out of bed every day and I think I'm no better than anyone on this planet, but I'm certainly no worse. So I can do things. I can figure out how to pronounce things. Practice, 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 because practice creates posture. And here's the next one. Build your posture. And when I say posture, I'm not talking about slouching like your parents are like, oh, sit up in your chair. That's important. Right? That's posture. So I'm not talking about you got like scoliosis or something. I'm talking about posture is pride in your business. And it comes with practice. It comes from learning words. It comes from taking and overcoming objections because you're going to hear them all. And many of you pass them to me, and you should pass them on. Objections. I can't do your business because I'm a vegan and you have a certain amount of, there's collagen, animal collagen in the soft caps, the soft gels. They're not in the other ones, just in that one. We find solutions. We can bite that. Actually, a lot of people don't like swallowing capsules. To me, that seems nuts. I could swallow a handful of thumbtacks. The family I grew up in, my mom would give us fistfuls of vitamins and capsules, and I could eat it. No problem. My father-in-law, when I married Rachel, my father-in-law is a career military guy. He would carry a gun to work, and I would watch him swallow a capsule, and he would put in his mouth, and it was this. It's like, you've seen combat. You carry a gun to work. You can't swallow an aspirin. I had no patience for that. But some people don't. Chew it because our green cat. So a lot of people apparently like doing that. That's more work for me than I don't want to do. But find solutions. And if, by the way, your posture, overcoming objections becomes a lot easier once you've overcome a few. And at this point, Malcolm, I'm sure you've heard a few objections, and it's pretty much a standard thing. Like Hernan probably gets out of bed and he already knows the things that people say no. They say no to me every day of my life here, still at this place, even with, doesn't matter what my title is. You learn how to overcome objections, and it comes from building your posture. Folks, nobody wants to be part of your test group. Nobody wants to be part of a test group. And when I say it that way, if you've been in this 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and somebody comes to you and you go into fetal position when they say, oh, the product costs too much, or that can isn't recyclable. Not true, by the way. Not true. I still hear that one. It's like, this is the most recyclable product in the industry right now. You should be very quick with your responses. And it comes with practice. I don't know. I would ask by a show of hands, but I can't see everybody's hands. Actually, I could just see one row. How many people on this call, if they drive stick, by a show of hands? Okay. I don't even care if I can't see you. Just placate me. Okay. There's a few of you that didn't raise your hand, like any group like this. For those of you who drive stick, I want you to go back in your memory of the first day you drove a standard transmission. Do you remember that first time? It was, your brain went bananas. It was like, depress the clutch, engage the gear, rev the engine, slowly release the clutch. Oh my gosh, mirror signal, blind spot check. Look out for the pedestrian. You were a mess. You were an emotional mess. You sweated out 3 pounds, But think about 3 months later, 6 months later, you're driving, eating a sandwich, driving with your elbow, yelling at somebody in traffic, adjusting the radio, shifting the gears with one hand, questionable judgment, but no problem. You're not even thinking about it. It becomes reflex. And if you practice, you practice overcoming objections. You're not going to, I've heard it said this way. If I wait every morning, I get up and I'm like, I got to call the police department and tell them, you can tell me when every light is green. When you can get to work, only making right turns, every light's got to be green. There's no congestion. They'll think you're nuts. You're going to have the occasional objections. You're going to have the occasional road bumps. Practice will make your practice builds posture. That's what actually my note says. Practice creates posture. Okay, Ashley, if your line is on, I'm gonna throw one here. So this is coming. This is a big one. No pressure. You don't even know what I'm gonna say.
I have
You
no
don't know what
idea,
I'm gonna say.
actually.
You were right
No.
here a second ago. I could have handed you notes. So before I get into this next one, and this is a big one, folks. This is the big number 4 is huge. It's really big, and it's practice something that I've always been told is called the third party principle. It's so important. There's only one per every one of you who I'm looking at. I'm looking, Carol, you're right in my sight line. She's like, me? And I'm like, yes, I can see you, Carol. Okay. Carol, there is one person in the entire world that you cannot effectively promote. Only one. And that's yourself. And the reason why is nobody wants to hear it if it's coming from you. If you say, I am Carol, I have a PhD in nutrition. I have spoken 1,000 times publicly to people. I met the president of the United Nations. I received a Nobel Peace Prize. You need to listen to me. I'm Carol. Nobody defies me. Instantly, people will say, I'm listening to her. Why? Because you can never properly introduce yourself or recognize yourself. Malcolm needs other people. He needs others. Every one of you needs every one of the rest of you. And there's a little rule about it, and sometimes they call it edification in this industry, but you can never properly talk about yourself. It's not just this industry, it's life. I want you to think about when you grab a book or you see back in the day, DVD, but you look at a review, you grab a book and you're like, I'm in this bag of this new John Grisham book. I wonder if it's any good. And you look and you see the back and it says, I laughed, I cried, I peed my pants. And the review is written by, I don't know, Matthew McConaughey or something. You're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Why? Because John Grisham isn't like, you're going to love this book. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. Nobody wants to hear what John Grisham has to say about his own book because we don't believe it. We don't care. I don't want to hear about your self-glory. Don't tell me about you. Let someone else do it and get good at it. Get good at, if you can promote someone else, if you can get really good at promoting someone else, you can build the business of your dreams. This is an aside, little quick thing. This is something I live by. If you can learn to identify bright eyes, you can build the business of your dreams. Because whenever you're talking to people, even on a line like this, I can see Carol's face. You're in the middle. Tanya's here. Ashley's like freaking out. Oh no, what the hell is he going to say? What the heck's he going to say? Sorry, Ashley. Let me tell you, Ashley's got a few things to share with you tonight. She's got just some tips. I thought it was great. So I threw this at her. I was like, hey, can you join me tonight on the call? And she's like, yeah. And I know what she's going to talk about because she was talking about it and I asked her to present it. It's a way to increase your way, especially for women, and how to increase your way of asking for the sale. Because a lot of times we'll educate and then we're afraid to ask for the sale. So we do 90% of the work and then somebody goes away pretty excited and they didn't have an opportunity to buy. So Ashley, let me just introduce you off the top of my head. All right. So for those of you who don't know Ashley, you shouldn't be on this call. So leaders go. No, Ashley her influence in this company can be seen across pretty much everything. She's our chief product officer. If you don't know that, if you don't see the things, she turns ideas into solutions, folks. Opportunities are innovation for her. She's elevated the skin. I would have to say, Ashley, I don't think there is a bigger expert in the state of Utah on skincare and olive oil than you. Matter of fact, I could go so far as to say perhaps the Western United States. We and I have been friends a long time, and she had a lot to do with shaping this company and with our brand and me, folks. There you go. This rough-hewn, crazy bearded freak from rural Canada. I need a little people like Ashley in my world to help me with my sophistication. And So, Ashley, would you do me a solid and share a few minutes with this group about what you learned?
Yes, I would love to. First of all, isn't Gordon great? I have a couple of slides to show, and I quote him in a little bit of it because the things he says to you and to this group and to all of us stick with you because they're powerful, they're meaningful, and I would recommend using them, throughout any conversation you have throughout the company and everything else. Unlike Gordon, also, my slides did not disappear, thank goodness, because this is not all from memory, because I learned something this morning. And then when Gordon was like, hey, do you want to get on this Zoom with me? I was like, I have a perfect thing to share because it was so interesting. So
Well, you
every day
shared it
I
with me
learned,
and it was interesting. And then I was like, you got
right?
to share it with the group. So
Okay. Okay. I'm sending a request to be able to share my screen real quick.
I have no ability to
And
do that.
then,
So
There you go.
okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, you guys, I don't usually present a keynote, but I'm going to try today, like my hardest, okay? Let's see if I can do this. Okay, play. Okay, here we go.
Going great.
So I heard it looks good.
looks great. Beautiful.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I heard a stat this morning that was insane. I was like, that can't be real. So I looked it up to make sure it was. And it looks like Target is investing about $5 billion across remodels, new stores, technology, and fulfillment. Walmart has invested over $9 billion over 2 years, upgrading 1,400 stores. So what they're doing is upgrading user experiences. They want people in their stores. They want them to be able to buy products, not just online anymore, because their in-store, in-person sales are creating so much more for them. So the lesson here is experience drives trust, discovery, and conversion. Customers still need more than access. They need a reason to believe again. So I thought about our company and thought, how does this correlate to our company? So how do we use this information? Since they know what they're doing, they've put a lot of research and effort into this, and they see that people are in there, but they're not buying products online anymore. They're going in there, they're touching, they're feeling everything. They want to smell it, they want it in their hands before they make any of these purchases. So this is how we do it, is we get product into more hands. When people feel it, taste it, smell it, use it, they're more likely to purchase the products. And this is from the mouth of Gordon. I've heard him say it probably 30 times. So every conversation to share, I share one scientific fact and one customer story. Science tells and stories sell. That is from the mouth of Gordon. Over and over, I've heard it. And it is the absolute truth. If you guys were on the Zoom before at 3 or when do we have it? 2 o'clock. I told a
Yes,
story
too.
about my sister. Yeah. And I told you guys like, hey, this research study done on plastic olive oil, gave you the facts, then told a story. So it's more relatable for everyone. This is what you guys, I know you already know how to do it. We all have stories. And the thing is, when we bring up olive oil, it's such an easy conversation to have because people know about olive oil. They have something to add to it. They've heard something. They want to share something as well. So it is so simple to be able to talk to about olive oil to anyone. Even my sister, who has a bottle still probably on her shelf of plastic olive oil, which I will throw away next time, you guys. But yeah, and the way we do this is I mean, coffee, lunches, hang out with your friends. I was at my family dinner and had a bottle of Flex on the table, and people were asking, what is that? It's that simple. It's not anything too difficult to where if you can get this in their hands, the science, the studies have shown they're more likely to purchase products. Now I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm back. Nope, still sharing
Those
it.
are good looking slides too. I didn't even make those slides.
Stop
I don't
sharing.
know who made. Did you make those slides? They're great
I
slides.
did. I was done about 5 minutes ago, so yeah, it's been a great quick day here.
It was Ashley. It's the equal distribution of discomfort. If Malcolm was
Thank you.
nervous, yeah, everybody has to be nervous. Hey,
Yeah.
sister, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course.
Ashley,
Yeah, thank you.
you also passed my skill testing question because I asked you to present, but part of that was in a lead in. I'm so proud. You get 2 thumbs up and 5 gold stars because what I did, and this is the way that you should think about it. If somebody takes the time to properly introduce you, never miss the opportunity to thank and edify the person and brag on them because you all need each other. So when I just organically riffed about Ashley, I introduced most of my staff several times a week. Ashley, I didn't lead the witness. I told Ashley she was going to present, but she didn't know what I was going to. But did you hear what she said when I said Ashley? And I bragged on the organically about what I know about Ashley and her amazing skill set and her unbelievable knowledge about skincare. And the mic became hers. And she said, she quoted me to me, which is really nice. It's also good manners. And she used my name. And it's the most beautiful word in any language is a person's name, their person's name, that person's name. So when you're talking, use their names. Never do a presentation where you say, you know, let's just say Joe Blow joins your organization and builds a really big, use the name of somebody you know. Take the time to learn names and take the chance to learn to really be good at effectively edifying and bragging on your folks because somebody comes to you, they're new to the business and they take the time to say, oh, you have to talk to, you got to hear from Carol. Carol, you're right in my sight line. You're going to be my number one like person I'm going to all night. It's so uncomfortable. See if I can make your face red. Carol's like, you really got to talk to my upline. He's so and so or she's so and so, and you take the time to properly edify them. Remember, Carol, you can't properly promote yourself because nobody will care. But the person that you just bragged on, you can take eloquent time and say, you should meet Trello. Boy, you all meet Trello. Come here, Trello. There's actually a man named Trello here, by the way. It's not just an app, it's Trello. And when you hear us referring to Trello, it's Trello right here. By the way, Trello also can get very red in the face.
Yep.
Ashley and I, it can. And so I'll let you go off camera for this one because I'm going to brag on you. Trello won't tell you this because he's insanely modest. It really is. That's to a fault. Man, I feel like braggadocious around him sometimes. Trello has ridiculous. He's a cinematographer. Trello and I work on a lot of television projects historically. He can land a drone with one hand. I watched him on a cliff edge land a drone. Ashley saw it. One hand working a drone back before drones were really like robotically smarter. Landed it on this hand. It was like a parlor trick. He was in like the Karate Kid pose on one leg. He has ridiculous skills. Also ridiculously patient because he deals with me. He should have punched me in the face a long time ago. Amazing guy. And if I love my team, I have no problem bragging on them because I'm organic about all of it. I really don't say things you don't believe. Learn about people's skill. Learn their CVs so you can brag on them. And if you do this, they will do as you do. By the way, they won't do as you tell them to do. They'll do as they see you do. If you tell everybody, yeah, everybody in this group's got a sponsor this month. And then you're like, I'm not going to sponsor anybody. I'll just tell them to sponsor. And they'll never know. They'll know. I don't know how they know. They always know. I can give really good speeches about sponsoring when I had a big downline and I'd tell my group, you got to sponsor. And they'd know if I didn't sponsor, if I wasn't doing it. Okay. So be organic about when you brag on people. When I say brag on them, learn to properly promote somebody. If you become, we're promoters. That's what we do. That's what anybody that's good at. Politicians are good promoters. They promote the party line. Movie producers are good promoters. They promote their latest cinematic venture. If you get good at that, if you just get good at promoting people, I'm a person that if you want to feed your family for a year, you grow wheat. And if you want to feed your family for a decade, you grow trees and fruit. But if you want to feed your family for a lifetime, you grow people. And if you put the time in to learn to properly promote the folks in your, they need you so bad to promote. They'll also see that if you're good at promoting the person above you, may be tragically flawed. I'm really flawed. The fact that Ashley can say something nice about me and I'm tragically flawed, that also says a lot about Ashley. If you can, even if you say, oh, the person that sponsored me, that dirty so and so, I saw they had their elbow in their soup, they're a clod. They didn't know the difference between the proper way to write there, or something like that. They wrote, there's supposed to be apostrophe, the way, that kind of stuff. If you could promote somebody that's tragically flawed, it tells your group, oh, that you have manners. So learn to be a good promoter. Third party principle. If a Sony Pictures movie on DVD that cost $30 million to make needs somebody else to brag on it, I laughed, I cried, New York Times movie critic, that will sell more tickets than them bragging on themselves. Okay. Learn to promote others. And am I at 5? Did I get to 5? Am I at 5? I'm at 4. All right, 5. I don't have my PowerPoint. By the way, there's like 35 on my presentation list from previous lives. And the fifth one, and I talked to Malcolm, we're going to finish where we started the other day. And I said, Malcolm, we got to start teaching be a bringer. Be a bringer. Write it down. I already wrote this one down. I don't have to write it in. Be a bringer. If you are thinking, I'm going to build this business, and you know what, if this call was of any value, we'll try to do another one. And if you hate it, it's tell me. But if you think it's good, and we do another one, you say, you know what, I have 3 new 1Ks that could really benefit from this. Be a bringer. Come to the call. Bring your leaders in your group, the ones that are coming up. You know the ones, because your clock is ticking too. They're listening to you. The second you come in, you are the expert to your group, but you're also becoming pedestrian every day. You are. Hernan is ridiculously smart, and he's seen a lot. Dr. Jerry is ridiculously smart. He's seen a lot. Dr. Jerry's clock is ticking, because if you become too pedestrian to your group, you're the only source of information. If you're the only source of information, what happens? I don't want to listen to Dr. Jerry. I was watching the call the other day, and I think I saw him scratch his backside. Like, I don't want to. You eventually become pedestrian. So you need each other. The better we get. This is the great thing about Malcolm's call. Probably a lot of people in this call are not even in your organization, Malcolm. And that's beautiful, because we could all plug in. But I want everybody. We're about to become. I don't know. I'm not clairvoyant. I don't have a crystal ball, but I just know everything's been set up now, and I know where we're at. And this thing's about to get very, very, very red hot. And I know some people that are about to join this thing. It's about to become red hot. I want us to be one of those companies that people are like, that's a company. That's a company that figured out the rules. Not when you go to a janky restaurant, they don't know where to put the freaking place settings, and then you got some dude that leaves you're like, somehow you still got your French onion soup on your table and you're at dessert. Like, why is that happening? I got no patience for that. How come you bought a nice bottle of wine and the waiter didn't take the time to top up your glasses? Why am I pouring? These are fine dining things. Sorry. These are first world problems. I understand. I'm just saying, I will leave with this. Okay. Be a bringer. The next call, bring somebody. And before I bring Malcolm back, I'll leave this little thing. I thought it was enlightening. One of my favorite bands, don't judge me, I'm about to tip my cards, but one of my favorite bands is a band called Van Halen. Okay. I love Van Halen. I love them. I've seen them with David Lee Roth as the frontman. I've seen them with Sammy Hagar as the frontman. The first concert I took my son to at 8 years of age was Van Halen. I know, probably didn't think the thing through. A lot of F-bombs. I did the earmuffs on him, right? But he's a drummer, and he's in 3 bands now, and it changed his life to see Alex Van Halen on the drums. So why am I talking about Van Halen? Van Halen became very famous in the 1980s because they had a rider clause. And if you know anything about doing events, when I hired public speakers historically, and I will with this company, they come with a rider clause. In other words, I have to, in the green room, I have to have Swiss bottled water, and I have to, they have rider clauses. It's what they do. And Van Halen had a rider clause that anytime they played a concert in the green room had to be M&Ms, but all of the green ones had to be removed. It was one of the colors. I think it was green. And you're like, that's nuts. But they did it. They had this rider clause. Every green room has to have a bowl of M&Ms, and there can be no green ones. And people are like, oh, and everybody got really like tried to one up each other. Like, I'm going to have a weirder, rider clause than Van Halen. And it would be like, I need like 3 like Bolivian, like, llamas. And it got really weird. And when it got down to it, and it only happened about 10, 15 years ago, and David Lee Roth did an interview, and he's like, no, I actually put it in there for a practical reason, because I said no green M&Ms. And if I got back there and I realized that somebody didn't take the time to take the green M&Ms out, then they're probably going to have a dead mic on stage at some point, or probably a missed lighting cue, or somebody's guitar is not going to work. And he's like, it's a small thing. It's those little things upon congruent. And yeah, details matter. So I say that, and I'm going to finish off where I started, and I'm going to bring back our host with the most tonight. By the way, gratitude, brother, Mr. Malcolm. You are ridiculously generous to do these calls several times a week and just open it to the world. I plug into your calls. I got a different job. I have to take I like calls because I take my hat off and I stop being a corporate guy that, and I get to be back in the field. I love the field. You guys, I love events. I wish it was like, I'd live at events. This is an online event because we get around each other and we get to give ourselves propers, and we get a chance to share. And okay, I swear I've said this 3 times now, but this time I really mean it. This will be the last thing I say. There's a great quote, George Bernard Shaw, and he said, if you have an apple and I have an apple, and you give me your apple and I give you my apple, we still only have one apple each. But if I have an idea and I share it with you, and you have an idea and you share it with me, now we both have 2 ideas. And that's this idea of what we're doing tonight. We're exchanging thoughts. The forum that we've been able to do this in is Malcolm. This is your Zoom line. This is your Zoom line, Malcolm. I think that's why Ashley can't share her screen without your permission. So, brother, from the bottom of my heart, I got to give gratitude for setting this up. And thanks for getting nervous. Tell Lucille I will buy her a nata colada or something on some beach when you're in the future here. So thank you. And I'll turn it back to you to finish up, my friend.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, Malcolm,
Of course.
Malcolm.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's Ray.
Can I take?
I can hear him.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I couldn't see you. I was going to call on you, and I was like, I don't see Ray. Okay. Sorry, brother.
I'm here. Thank you, Gordon. I love hearing you. I mean, you and we go back for 3 decades, more than 3 decades, actually, and never get tired of hearing you. It was great advice, and I know everybody really appreciated that. And I was talked to Malcolm earlier. I'm determined not to say anything tonight, but it's kind of hard to shut me up because you got me thinking.
Oh, you would have
brother.
been saying it an hour ago had I known you were out there. I couldn't see you, so
You got me.
sorry.
You got me thinking, and I want to introduce Malcolm. Folks, most of you know Malcolm, but you don't really know the whole story. And tell you what encourages me: only one person has left this Zoom tonight. Only one, and I'm believing that they had an emergency and had to go. I want to say to all of you that. Don't shortchange yourself. If you've got some time, Malcolm, I hope you do take some time. This is a guy. If you know me, what I'm going to say about Malcolm, it means a lot to me personally. I have zero interest in going to a movie or reading any book unless it has something to do with someone's life, what they did with it, either good or bad. I can learn from either one. Those are the things that interest me the most. Malcolm Wallace has led, and I know this, we talk daily. And plus, I know this to be true. He's led a fascinating life. He had like 1,200 employees as a young man in his 20s in Australia. And I mean, that's a lot of employees. Gordon, you've had a lot, and maybe that many, but that's a
A
lot.
lot.
And I mean, he was wildly successful, decided to go to Canada. I'm not going to tell your whole story, Malcolm. He literally builds a large Ford dealership. And we were talking about restaurants earlier. Later on, maybe one of the other Zooms, Malcolm, you'd go into the detail. I mean, when he said 452 seats, they were 452 seat restaurants. I mean, really high end steakhouses. This is a guy that's done extremely well. Here's what I want to say before I turn it over to Malcolm. Not many of us can identify with this, not even me. How would it be to wake up one morning, you wake up and you look, when you went to bed, you were worth $33 million in the bank, $33 million in the bank as a young man. You got homes on 8 islands. You live in a mansion in Phuket, Thailand. You've got yachts. You've got life made. You wake up and you no longer have any money. You're done. You're done. You know, that would probably wreck my life and most of you that are listening to me tonight. Malcolm said to me, he said it was, yeah, it definitely was alarming. But he said, it occurred to me, what am I doing? I got homes on 8 islands. I'm living in a mansion. I've got yachts, but I'm empty. Maybe this happened for a reason. So here's a guy that knows what it's like to face diversity and come out on the other side more than once. I admire you greatly, Malcolm, and I just wanted to say that, brother. And I didn't mean to tell your whole story because I know it's a lot longer than that. But I'm telling you, folks, hang around, get ready, get yourself some coffee, get a cup of tea, get comfortable. You can learn from this guy and what he's going through. Malcolm, thanks.
Yep, you're absolutely right, Ray. I had everything, but I had nothing. Really, it's great. I tell you, success is great. But I had everything, but I was a single man, no family. I really had nothing. And I was trying to gain something that wasn't real. It's great to have success. And then I lost it all. People can't understand. How could you possibly lose it all? I had banked with a bank, Stanford International Bank. You can go look it up on the news. It was one of the biggest scandals in the U.S., $180 billion, couple 100,000 depositors. I made the choice. Nobody broke my arm to bank with that bank. I'd banked with that bank as my corporation. And as a corporation, the corporation owns everything, your cars, your boat, your homes, all the money, everything. That's how you do it legally. And when the U.S. government back in the day decided that that bank was an illegal bank and they wanted the assets, then they seized the assets. That means everything goes. Even though I was an Australian citizen, not even living in the United States, I was living in Phuket, but it goes. The homes go, everything goes overnight. And I had nothing. I had a push bike. But how I gained everything? It was only then that Lucille, who for 2 years had said, not interested in you, you're big money, not interested. It was then that she said, how would you like to come to dinner at my auntie's and she can be the chaperone? And now I have everything. I have 2 daughters, I have a wife. Look, Ray said this, just just off topic for a second. Sammy Hagar, Sammy Hagar,
Yeah.
some gigantic shoes. This is such a great story that Gordon shared. He stepped into those gigantic shoes of David Lee Roth and he picked up the baton and then he filled it. And what's he doing now? He's in, what is he, 77, I think it is, or 76. And now what he does, he front lines for all the other bands. He goes and gets them and promotes them and says, here, I'll put this on for you and let's get you where I've been. So that's what I want you to have. Let's go. Ray said this right before the call to me. He said, Mal, I want you to share your story. And he said, success is like a struggle and we all swim upstream for a while. Right, Ray? You said that to me. Well,
That's right.
I'm not going to go and spend the whole story, but I want you just to, if you think you can't do it, you can do it. I want you to tap into your heart right now, like down deep, right deep inside. Reach inside yourself. Be honest with yourself. Why? I look down all the time when I'm thinking. Sorry. But I know you can get the success. You already have it. It is you. It's there. Everything in the world is attainable. We just think we can't do it. When I was a small boy, me and my twin were the two smallest kids in every class and the two smallest kids in every sports team. You can't be in this. You're too smart. You're too short. You can't do it. I would beg the coach, just put me on for 5 minutes. Just put me on for 5 minutes. Rugby. Well, you know what happened? You Aussies would know this. I ended up with a closet full of blue New South Wales Blazers. They know what that means, right? You don't get that. And the same with in the swimming. You're the wrong build. You're too short. You're too thick. Gordon knows this. And my coach at 14, when I was on top of the world, said, that's it. We're done. I'm not, you go surfing, mate. Enjoy your rugby. I'm not coaching you anymore because he didn't want me to fail. Don't ever do that to somebody. He didn't want me to fail because he knew I couldn't move forward. So he took me to Harold Reed. He was the top coach in Australia in those days. He looked me up and down like, I don't want this guy. I knew. I did like, I don't want this guy, not in my elite squad. And I was doing a mile in the morning, a mile at night. And he said, we do 5 miles in the morning, 5 miles at night. You'd be here at 4 in the morning. I showed up. And when I got there, he had an old truck tire and he tied my legs to the truck tire. He put wooden paddles on my hands to make them hard through the water. I'm standing like I thought he was making a joke of me. Then he got a galvanized bucket and tied it to my stomach. And he said, we're doing 5 miles. You're doing the first 2 on the clock with the team. You fall behind, you're out of the squad. So I knew he wanted to make me quit. And I didn't. I kept that up. I did it from 14 to 18. I got to where I wanted to go. So look, your success, if you believe in it, you can do it. So yeah, I've had a great life and a lot of money. And in network marketing, it was the second Tuesday of January, 1992. A guy I'd sold my brokerage house to a year before called me. I hated network marketers. So I said, yeah, I'd get involved. You know why? Because he did not say, oh, look at this, and it's a financial company, and this is I paid $1 billion. He didn't say any of that. He said, I know how you run the businesses. I saw you in Wall Street. I saw you in Chicago Board of Trade. You came and stayed at my place with me, and you want to make people successful. I didn't want to listen, but when he showed me this industry, this profession is based on pushing up people, making other people more successful than you. I said to someone, look, right before this call, Ray, what was I doing? A 3-way with you with a brand new gal, a brand new person. And I said to her, you know, Renee, if you're in business for yourself, there's one principle you have to live by. Your income is in direct correlation to the servitude you give others. So I was doing that call, but I want to just touch on this. So I joined that company with him because he showed me this is exactly what you've tried to do all your life. It's about making other people successful. I got right to the top 3 years, but, you know, life dealt me a bad hand. I got cancer, beat it. I got it back again. Liver cancer, that's not one you usually come out of. So I thought, what's the point of being the richest guy in the graveyard? I gave my business away to all my regional vice presidents. I just gave it all to them. And I went and took a couple of years off and concentrated on getting better. Came back, it was what, September the 8th, 1998. Started a business with some guys who'd been in business for a year. It was the first of the digital products. And I created a very simple, duplicatable system and crushed that thing. I mean, crushed it. Flew 89 countries around the world, made a fortune. But right when I was on, Ray talks about, I was on more than $500,000 a month income. All that money going to that bank disappeared down the road. $500,000 a month income. You know, the owners and the guys at the top were doing the wrong thing. It's what's happened today. They'd lost their moral compass. I flew to your old hometown, Ray, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I sat down once, said that owner's name. I sat down with him. I asked him why, and he was like, the money, man. We're making $20-odd million a month at the moment. We're making $20 million the other week. And I just went, I got to walk away. I walked away from it. 2nd of February, 2001. So right at the top, I went, I can't be part of this. I walked away. And then I had some years off. Dr. Jerry Shaw brought me into a company called Enliven. Went zipping through that one, building it really hard, putting my money. I never bought Ferraris, never owned Lamborghini. Not that guy. I always just had a pickup truck, had my average home. Yes, I like my horses, not race horses, just regular horses. I got a slide to share with you at the end of this. But, you know, that one, Jerry, if he's on the call, he'll know this. And we got there and we made great money. It got into 5 figures a week. But within that year and 4 months or so, that owner was crooked. We all knew it. I think Jerry had already left, and I emceed the conference for him, and I just went, I'll give you 150%. You know the guy, Gordon, right? Mike, I won't say his last name, Mitch, Dr. Mitch. I went, I can't be part of it. I just can't do it. You have a moral compass, folks, and it's very easy as you get successful to get off track. And that's what's happened to this industry, I believe, this profession in the last 5 to 8 years. It's been a wasteland out there. We've found a home with Oliabo. I mean that. So I walked away from it. And about 5, 6 months later, along came. You guys were already in business. Zango were the poster child. Zango were killing it. They'd been at it for 2 years. And I went to a convention. I joined a company. And that was a great 5.5-year run. Just the other day, my last check with that company, they were paying me 80, 100 grand a month for 5 years. Great run. I really worked hard with my team, saved all my money. The first time I splurged on myself, and I built the big, beautiful home. I was a builder. So I built the big, beautiful home on the beach in Phuket. That was to have all my leaders come. And so it was good. But, you know, I was hoping, because I was tired of the rug getting pulled out. I was tired of, you see, if we sell anything, folks, we sell hope. We sell opportunity. That's what we're really doing. Yes, we got an incredible product, and it flat out works. That's the best thing I know. We got such an easy, simple pay plan, and it's so lucrative for us. 50% of the company, 50% for us. That's all you got to explain. That's as good as it gets. But we really selling hope and opportunity. Hope people can change their health. Hope they can get out of their financial pickle. Hope they can see a future. Hope they can be the person that they really are. We all know we got it in us. This guy way back in the day, Art Williams, used to tell me, Mal, you're the one guy that knows this because he saw it in me. There's not a test ever been devised that can measure the heart of a champion inside of a person. And everyone's got one. So, you know, that company, great run, really good. But you know what that owner did? He decided, because I was living in Thailand, he would just shut the country down so he wouldn't have to pay me anymore. Just shut it down and not pay me anymore. And that happened. And then I got cancer again. And then I'm in the hospital. Then I went to pay the bill after being 2-3 weeks in ICU and going through surgery. And I get out, and my card at Stanford International Bank to pay that $1,130 BAT, about 40,000 US bill, which is pretty cheap for Thailand. And it didn't work. And I think, I wonder why my card didn't work. So I'm calling them in the bank, New York and Antigua branches. No answer. Can't figure this out. Get home. Still nothing. Get an email from the SEC in the United States to me. Watch it. Watch the video. Get a call from them. And realized it was gone. It was all gone. One day, that whole lot, 33.3 million, every home, everything, all gone. Had nothing. And within a couple of days, the house was, they came, they take the house. I was homeless. I was broke. I had a push bike. But you know what? I put my head down, went back to work. There was no company anymore. That year out, Free Life had gone down. Whoops, said the name. But they'd gone, right? So I put my head down and went to work. Now it was a struggle. There was no home hitters at that point. And I worked hard to build some other companies to the point that I became corporate with it. I actually owned a company with a mate of mine, but he went and squandered the money. Then I decided to get corporate with some guys, and we built a great company in Thailand. Some people say, how come they got that story you left overnight? Well, they owed me tens of thousands of dollars in income. They just decided we don't need to pay him anymore. He's put 7,000 people in this thing. It's rocketing along. And they decided the best way they could do that, they created something that, fortunate for me, there was a midnight flight organized, and we had to flee the country. We left Thailand in the middle of the night. My wife with Brooke was 3, about to turn 4, and 4 months pregnant with River. And we left with nothing. Everything was just left behind, scooted out of the country, landed in Philippines, had $287 US to my name and 6 cardboard boxes. That was it, with the kids' clothes. That was it. And no business. And start again. Actually, I told Ray, I got up in the morning. I didn't have anywhere to stay. We didn't know what to do. And I went walking down the sand road until I found a Wi-Fi on my phone. I went and asked the guy. Luckily, it was a foreigner married to a Filipino lady. Never met. And I said, you got Wi-Fi. Would you mind if I run home and get my laptop and come and sit on your fence? I got to build a business. And I did that. I did that for 6 days straight. Then he went, you know what? You can sit on my balcony. I was sitting on his fence, and I just worked, and I just went and started calling till I found a company. I went back to work and built it up. But you know, you've been in that, what's happened in the last 5 to 8 years. It's been a nightmare out there. And we're all looking. I'm going to share my screen for a minute here. We're all looking for what we want, that we can hang a hat. We're up and running. Yeah, we're all looking what we want. We can hang our hat. And it's been a long journey. And I tell you, I'm like Gordon. The highs, man, when you're successful, it's phenomenal. And the things I've been able to do in the countries around the world and the schools I've built and all sorts of things and the people and all the adventures I've had. But nothing ever compares to seeing like Marsha Lovell, a cashier at Costco, that she would cash me out every time I was going to Calgary to do a big meeting with that company way back, making $500,000 a month. And then I invited her to a meeting, and then, you know, a while later, we're at a hotel, and she's making $14,000 a week, a cashier at Costco, right? That's happened over and over and over, not once or twice, 100 times, 150 plus times, 200 times. Those people, that's why I built a home in Phuket, so they could come and stay. So now I know. Ray's always said it to me. He knew the outcome before we even started. And the Oliabo effect. And there's something here I want to share with you. You know, when I liked horses. They were not race horses. They were quarter horse paints. But you know, when you're in a race and there's a horse race, there's the horses. And there's the jockey. Some people go, man, do I bet on the horse? They get the form guide. Do I bet on the horse? What's his form? How's he run the mud? It's a bit wet day today. Or do I follow the jockey and do I bet on the jockey? What am I going to do? Well, I tell you what, you know, there's a Gordon Morton here who's running this show with his brother, Joe Morton, and Curtis Fulmer. I'm betting on these guys. I'm betting on these jockeys and Kent Wood and Ashley on our call and Adam Blake and Brent Baum steering the ship, guy that's done it before. These are the jockeys that I'm betting on. These are the jockeys that I know the outcome with. And the horse that they're riding, well, my horse, it's got Prima fuel in that horse, Flex on that horse, Visa Lux. We got this as our horse with these guys, and you can get on behind the reins of this horse with me, because my horse with Prima and Flex and Visa Lux and Oliabo and the olive oil, it's all going way past the finish line, way past that finish post and beyond. You just got to choose. You want to get in the race with them. And I put my hat and I'm in this race. And yes, there'll be some adversities up and down. Yes, we'll have some growing pains. And yes, you know, there'll be new systems and things to help us. If you could see the vision of what we got for the studio and what it will become, to open the doors to not just be the old way we marketed. So yes, there's some hiccups on the road here, but you got to go through it. When I was 20, I went to New Guinea to make a fortune. I just thought of this. And, you know, we were setting these camps up. I talked to the Australian team last night, and they were on the top of each mountain. But New Guinea, it's the stinkingest, hottest, other than Dominican Republic, it was the second most hottest country I've ever been in my life. and, you know, you had to get to the top of that mountain to set up this igloo things that we were dropping off everywhere. But then you had to go down into this valley and across this valley to get to the next spot to go set the next one up. And that was 5-6 days of trekking. And that valley was stinking hot and slippery mud and insects and snakes and stuff that ate you and ate your clothes. And we were suffering, but we could keep seeing that ridge, Cameron and I, and we just kept it up till we got back up to the top. And every time we set up the next camp, the next igloo, the next spot for trekkers to come, we knew that was money in our pocket down the road from people buying these trails from us, right? And we just kept it up. But, you know, every time we got there and completed that, we knew we had to go back down again to that stinking, filthy, hot jungle and all that mud and streams and holy cow, and back up again. Well, that's going to happen. We got a great company. We got a great product, but just because we're in the people business, That happens. You're going to go up and you're going to go down. But you know what? Those highs, they're going to get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer together. And then you get to the point where you don't have to worry about decisions, because why? You got a future. It's not about the money. You just got a future and you got security. So, Gordon, it was your suggestion. Don't say it. It was your suggestion we do this call. And you guys have got to share this with your teams and everybody that new that comes in. And I'm sure Gordon and this whole team that's here of Joe, Curtis, Ashley, Kent, Adam, Brent, and all the others we don't see behind the scenes. They're all the jockeys riding that great horse of Oliabo. So thanks you guys. Thank you, Gordy. And I'm going to stop sharing this. And everyone.
You're the best. Malcolm, you're on fire, brother. I was trying to yell amens to you, but I didn't want to interrupt you. You were fantastic. Folks, I tell you this, and Malcolm alluded to it, and Ray alluded to it too. The industry every industry has its ups and its downs, and it goes through their, I don't know. There's the malaise that every industry has, and ours went through one. And the last several years have been rather boring and uneventful, and there are, I don't know, seems to be a lack of enlightenment at ownership levels. But no, I mean it. Like, if this fails, it's not because we love what we do. I love it. Like right now, I'm seeing Trello here. I know I can see in the background Ashley's still at the office, so she's 30 feet that way. And I know probably over there is probably Curtis. We just slide pizza under the door, and because he's processing things. But no, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you guys. Ray is a guy that changed my life many years ago, and I was fortunate. I was able to meet Ray many years ago in my life, and many of you on the line I've known for quite some time. This is going to be a terror. I mean, like in a good way. We needed it. The industry needed a colonic, and I was like, I had to figure out where we're at in the industry, but I was like, whoa, gosh, it got a little funky in the last few years. I went off, made some movies for a while, and God bless you, Ashley. Ashley's working for some accounting firm, and I was like, hey, you want to come work with me on this thing? And she's like, yeah. I was like, I can't pay you very much. She's like, I hate this accounting firm. She didn't say hate. She's actually quite positive. I'm grateful every day for you guys, and I appreciate it. And I will tell you, folks, I've said this more than once, in my final thought, but I'm so thrilled, by the way, Malcolm. I know that the Nerd Fest is going to happen when we talk Van Halen next. The fact that you know a little bit about Hagar, he's also the richest guy that came out of Van Halen too. He was pretty smart with his money, but I was going to quote
2 yellow Ferraris, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one that bought Cabo Wabo for. Anyway, we won't get off. We'll go on a tangent. You know the way it is. But no, I was gonna say I'll leave with the thought of Bob Marley. And Bob Marley said in he was at the time very poor when he wrote this line. He was in a shanty shack, water dripping through the leaky roof, and he wrote, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but yourselves can free your mind." And that's God's honest truth. Every one of you, right? Like, we all need to read, feed your mind. You got to stand guardian at the door of your mind, I think is what Ray says. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Leaders are readers. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but if I ask you what you're reading, you should have an answer. And it shouldn't be just the things on the bottom of the Instagram scrolling. Okay, there should be something in there to feed your mind. So I said that really, Malcolm, because we talk when I'm at my home office sometimes, and you're like, "What's that book?" And we trade notes about books, right?
Right.
And I'm like, "Hold up this book and that book," and I got a lot of books that I read. My mom was an Italian immigrant. She learned English about the time I really came on the scene. And my dad was an amazing guy, but he comes from a nothing at the wrong side of the tracks with an alcoholic, abusive father, and he decided to break the cycle. You could be, do, or have anything you want in this industry if you just make some goals, say your prayers, and go to work. And I mean it. I mean it. So that being said, I think I got a cleaning crew trying to get in here to vacuum. I should probably leave the office. But I send love. If you guys like this call, we'll do it again. What do you
Yeah.
think, Malcolm? You hip?
Yes,
Ready?
sir. We love you all, folks. You have no idea. We love you all. And these boys and girls at that office, they love you more than I do.
Great job, guys.
Cheers.
Great job. Good night,
Cheers.
everybody.
Watch out.
Have
I'll
a great
put the
one,
recording
everyone.
up for everyone.
Okay, you're the best,
Great
brother.
job,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Gratitude.
Have a good night.
You
Thanks,
too.
everyone.
Gratitude.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Good night.